ordinances. We have 3 of them because we didn't have a meeting last regular meeting was canceled. So we'll just go over these one at a time, and then we can do them all. We can just approve them all at once, correct? Yeah, we'll approve them all at once. So we'll start with 1229. Are there any questions on that?
Mr. Mayor, question on the Valleyscapes irrigation repair and in Bertrand for $497.23.
That's when that turnaround was at, but, so,
So we pay for the irrigation.
repair is one of the things another group did, we took over
Okay.
from years ago, but we didn't do the improvement.
Maybe
Any other questions on appropriation ordinance 1229? All right, appropriation ordinance number 1230. Any questions on that?
That's what the table was.
No questions on 1230. 12 appropriation ordinance number 1231.
The BG Consultants one, that's the second half of the design sequence, that's 77,000, 5,000 to the Historical Society, that's a one-time charge.
Appropriation number 1230, that was just corrections because of the printer error.
No, that was the one that we paid the dental bill because we didn't have a meeting, and you had to pay it at a certain time, but there were plenty of printer errors, yes. Well, no, it's a different device.
Yes.
Okay. And appropriation ordinance number 1231. No questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve appropriation ordinances 1229, 1230, and 1231 as presented.
I move to approve appropriation ordinances 1229, 1230, and 1231 as presented.
Motion, do I have a second?
I will second that motion.
Have a motion and a second to approve appropriation ordinances 1229, 1230, and 1231. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Proposed minutes of the 3/19/24 regular meeting, March 19th regular meeting. Okay. All right, minutes will stand approved as presented. Any agenda items to be added? Any items to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add items to the agenda. I'm trying to get to Z on this, but I would actually go add the four-way stop on Second and on Calvary.
Okay, and the Victor. Any other items to be added?
I don't have anything to add, but I'm just wondering if we want to make sure, are you sure we want to go through all the items on the agenda? I think we all got the same email from the city attorney about the first agenda item.
Yes. I'm going to proceed. The only one that we will probably be, that has been a requested table is item B, the FICA tax reduction program. And that's because Commissioner Hall is not here, so that has been a request made to table that. So, other items to add, we will begin with the item. First item is an ethics complaint against the current city commissioner. This is an item that I asked to be put onto the agenda.
I'm sorry, could I just say something before you start?
Yes,
I'm not gonna read through the whole thing. The reason I'm concerned, obviously you have a concern, but, we got some pretty clear indication that it might be better served by not discussing this in the city agenda. And so I would like you to reconsider that before you start.
I read the same information you read, Matthew, and that is the city attorney's opinion. I do not share that opinion with the city attorney because I believe that these kind of items, should be done in an open forum so the people of St. Mary's know what's going on. And I have a right, my First Amendment right, my right as a commissioner, to bring it to the agenda, to put it on the agenda.
I just wanted to make sure you had seen the email, because it was striking to me.
Absolutely, I saw the email. I'm going to read a statement that I've prepared. It is true, as Commissioner Childs, the city attorney, has recommended that this not be done in open session. I disagree with the city attorney on that, and I'll explain why. So again, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. I've asked this item to be placed on tonight's agenda to let everyone know my intention to bring an ethics complaint against Commissioner Francis Avercamp. I do not take this matter lightly, and it brings me no joy in having to do so. I have always been an advocate for open and honest government. I do not believe that anything happening at the local level should ever be kept from the people of St. Mary's. I know that there are always exceptions to the rule, such as when a non-elected city employee has some sort of personal issue that needs to be handled in an executive session. Otherwise, the people of St. Mary's need to know what is going on in their city. I am taking this opportunity to explain to my fellow commissioners, city staff, but most importantly to the people of St. Mary's, why I am requesting that an investigation be brought to look into the conduct and behavior of Commissioner Avercamp. I understand completely that the city can take no action on this matter as it does not police itself. Up until March 4th of 2024, I was employed by the Onyx Collection in traditional trucking. On that date, I received an email from the president of the Onyx Collection, Bobby Avercamp, saying that I was no longer an employee of the Onyx Collection or traditional trucking. There was no explanation given as to my termination. There are rumors circulating that I resigned, but that is a lie. I was in fact fired, plain and simple. I believe that Commissioner Avercamp used his previous position of power over me to retaliate against me and try to intimidate me because of positions that I've taken that are contrary to his on the city commission. On December 15th of 2023, while I was still employed with traditional trucking, Commissioner Avercamp asked me to meet with him regarding my work duties. I met with Commissioner Avercamp. I met with Commissioner Avercamp, and he presented me with a document that outlined my dismissal from traditional trucking. Commissioner Avercamp could not provide me with any reason other than I was not a good fit for the office as to why he was going to get rid of me. I repeatedly asked for specific things that I had done wrong, but the best answer he could provide was that I came into work too early, something that was known and approved by my immediate supervisor. During our meeting, Commissioner Avercamp finally gave me some indication as to what his actual intentions were. The following are actual quotes from Commissioner Avercamp. The reason that I know they are completely accurate quotes is because I recorded our entire conversation, which is perfectly legal within the state of Kansas. When Commissioner Avercamp said, and I quote, "I have health problems because I do not want to work with you," unquote, or quote, "why I don't want to come into work, why I don't want to go over to that area of the office, and I haven't in months," unquote. I asked Commissioner Avercamp to explain why this was the case, but he refused to answer. On January 12th, 2024, Commissioner Avercamp's brother, Bobby, called me into his office and told me that I was being demoted and sent to the plant to work. Bobby also would not give me any reason as to why he was doing this. The demotion came with an approximate $300 to $500 a week pay cut as well. For almost 10 years, I worked for the Onyx Collection in traditional trucking. From about March 21st, 2022 until January 12th, 2024, I worked in the office of the Onyx Collection and traditional trucking. Around May of 2022, I started working as a dispatcher for traditional trucking. I also worked in logistics and training. In November of 2022, I ran for an open position on the St. Mary's City Commission. After being elected, I looked into projects the commission had been working on. In September of 2023, the city was presented with plans for a floodplain mitigation program. I had studied much of the material that previous commissions had worked on, and I concluded that the project was a waste of city resources. I did not then, nor do I now, believe that the city should undertake such a large project that would burden taxpayers with an enormous debt, a debt that would have to be paid back by raising property taxes. I also did not trust any project where FEMA was involved. I was not convinced that the project would work the way they thought it would. At that meeting, Commissioner Avercamp was present, and when I voiced my objections, I could tell that he was visibly upset. This is only my opinion, but I have quite a bit of training in reading facial expressions. After the meeting, things began to change for me at work. Prior to the meeting, Commissioner Avercamp and I would regularly have conversations about city business as well as state business. However, once my objection was made public, he no longer spoke to me, and conditions continued to deteriorate after that. I was not a perfect employee, but I worked hard. I followed direct orders from my supervisors and worked well with my coworkers. I have spoken with the Potawatomi County Sheriff's Office and the actual sheriff, and they will determine if this matter will be investigated by their office, sent to the Kansas Bureau of Investigation, or if my allegations do not rise to the level of an investigation. If this matter is investigated properly, if both of the Avercamps, Francis and Bobby, are required to answer questions truthfully, and some of my former supervisors and coworkers are spoken to, then I do believe that it will show that Commissioner Avercamp, along with his brother Bobby Avercamp, have taken the actions against me as a way to intimidate me, bully me, and ultimately silence me. As I said earlier, I do not take this matter lightly, and I will not stop fighting until this has been thoroughly investigated. Nobody, no matter how narcissistic they act, has the right to treat another person the way I have been treated. If anyone wishes to speak on this matter, please feel free to raise your hand and be recognized. If you do come up to speak, I remind you that you are expected to act in a courteous manner. I will close with this. At the beginning of every meeting, we have the Pledge of Allegiance. The last words of the pledge are, "With liberty and justice for all." That is all I'm doing. I'm seeking justice for myself. Thank you. There's no questions or comments. Are there any questions or comments?
Well,
I'm not seeing exactly how this is a city matter. And beyond that, I'm not gonna say anything because of the advice given by the city attorney, not that I don't see how this is a city topic. So I don't know what having people come up to talk would do, other than give an opinion about something that has nothing to do with the decision we have any authority over. So I would like to move on.
Well, since you brought it up, Matthew, it's not, it is a city matter. The city cannot investigate it, but I intend to seek out the proper authority who can. And as I said at the beginning, the reason that I brought this up is so that the people of St. Mary's know what's going on within their government. And I don't care if this happened to me or happened to anybody else, I would still feel the same way about it. So, if there are any other comments, or that's fine, or we can move on. All right, moving on. Item B, pit bull dog. Marie?
Well, it's, what we've been dealing with, last couple meetings. We have options to, leave it as is, amend it, or repeal it. So,
Would it be easy to just amend it and remove? I know the city attorney said he thought that a lot of municipalities.
so he said they have been repealing them. Someone today suggested the number 4, that C4, where it talks about the appearance and characteristics being predominantly, that should be up for chopping, and the rest of it, doesn't seem to be as, subject to interpretation, but anyway.
If I could, that was my input. I think that the subsection number 4, any dog which has the appearance, should be taken away. That's not an objective, quantitative, measure by which to, but I'm very hesitant personally. I am not a vet, nor do I play one on TV, but pit bulldogs that they're bred in order to, kill things. And so I'm hesitant to, I would like to have an opinion of a veterinarian, for example, before we just take something that has been on the books and say it's no longer dangerous. I completely understand the idea that owners should take care of their pets, but as I've said before, that's already in the code. I would be hesitant to take this out until we have a professional opinion of someone who knows more about these dogs than I do, but from the stuff I heard before, and as I've said before, I think the idea that there are no bad dogs, only bad owners is not correct on the surface of it, because there are breeds of dogs, and I understand diversity, equity, and inclusion, and not, to put upon races, but this is a dog that has been trained to do a thing, and I'm hesitant, that's all. I would rather, I'm not comfortable making that determination, given that cities all over the country have decided this is a dangerous breed of dog. But I'm fully in support of getting rid of number 4, I don't.
Get the city manager, maybe get a rewrite and at least get rid of number 4.
Well, we can amend that section, just have 1, 2, 3. Are there any other comments on this?
So how does it, if we get rid of number 4, which Matthew, I agree with that, how is that going to prevent any, so I guess in a case like the Cosman that came up and asked about the dog, so will that citation go away, or?
I still don't know what kind of dog that is, that's
Correct.
That's just
it's a separate topic to me.
Basically,
I understand that he brought it to our attention, but see, that's a separate topic, it's his dog.
Take that
So if
away.
it's determined that it's pit bull, or at least partial pit bull, that would,
And it would be against the code of the state.
I agree with that. I agree with striking number 4.
Okay, so we amending section 2, 301, 4, well, 2, 301 by eliminating number 4. And then I'll ask the city attorney to evaluate it on its own. Any other comment?
Well, if we just remove section 4, which is very vague, I mean, it's just
Subject to interpretation.
subject to interpretation. If an officer sees a dog and he thinks it looks like a pit bull, and he may not even know what a pit bull is, I mean, I'd like to see the whole ordinance be looked at, removed, and have,
So you're thinking remove Article 3 pit bull dogs, the entire article?
well, I don't know if we remove the entire article.
Well, no, that's all you're having, there's the rest of it. There's another section on there called vicious dogs.
Vicious dogs, right.
So this 2301 is specifically about that.
But I agree with Matthew in the fact that I think we need somebody's opinion if, are these dogs still being bred? I mean, I know we don't take away historical instincts overnight from any kind of animal, you can't, but I'd like somebody with a little more knowledge on the subject, see what their opinion is.
All right, carry on.
St. Mary's, red, white, and blue.
Hello. I'm here,
Tell us who you are.
oh, sorry.
We know who you
I'm
are.
Bobby Sandros, and I'm here on behalf of the Red, White, and Blue, for the Caw Valley, for the Experience St. Mary's. So this event is going on June 27th, 28th, and 29th, and we're gonna encompass stuff going from Main Street down to the park. The stuff that I wanna ask the city commission about tonight, pertains directly towards the 29th and the parade and stuff. Last year, we had a couple of incidences here in the parking lot while people were lining up for the parade. There was a pregnant soldier from Fort Riley that had come and she didn't have anywhere to use the restroom. And then there was another incident where someone was getting heat exhaustion and they needed to get it outside of the heat. So the Experience St. Mary's Committee would like to ask permission to have the city hall open for the bathrooms and the water fountains while people are staging for the parade down here.
They were open last year,
Were they open last?
but it wasn't automatically open, they had to be requested to be open because it wasn't covered. But if you're asking for it to be specifically open this time, of course.
I would like it to be specifically opened, yes, please. Because, I mean, last year.
I did ask for it beforehand and it did not get approved, so it wasn't a process.
So that's one item that I would like to place before the city commission. The other is for the actual parade, we need to block off a lot more streets. And we would like, so what we did about 60 days ago or so, the city department heads and I, we all went out to lunch. We sat down and I asked them, and I set before them a list of the things that we would like, to utilize. One was any dumpsters that aren't being used for the city that day, we would have the waste management move down to the park. It would be easier cleanup and all of that, all the volunteers and the city workers that would have to come in on Monday and help. There's some, so we also want to block off 7th Street to 5th Street for the actual parade as far as no parking. And I sat with, on Bertrand, yes, and that's purely for the safety for the parade. We do have candy and all that, and kiddos are running out, and it's extremely hard. I've driven a float, it's very hard to stop when they're running, because they say we can't throw candy anymore. We have to have volunteers that walk beside the floats to where everyone's rushing up on there. And so I spoke with the city department heads, and I was gonna chat with Onyx to see if we could collect a bunch of cardboard barrels. I have the volunteers, we would come in the night before with caution tape and all of that, and block 7th to 5th, as far as so there could be no parking. Flamingo does it, Alma does it, it's a common practice, going the day before, night before, and block that off. We would like to ask permission for that. And then also during the actual timeline of the parade, there's a lot of cross traffic getting into the parade and stopping and, cause some of the streets are blocked off. We would like to block off at the railroad tracks, from 9th Street all the way down to 5th Street. And Chief Sid said it's just a matter of setting up the barrels and stuff like that. We'll get that situation figured out, and I'll handle the volunteer aspect part of that.
On the north and south side, or just the north side, or?
North and south sides.
Okay.
Yeah. And so 6th Street will be blocked off south. I'm not sure exactly where. I would want on Palmer Street. Just so that's that first street to where that makes the most sense. And that would be from 7th all the way down to 5th there as well. The other line item that was kind of a source of contention last year was the use of the softball diamonds specifically because of the weather and the damage that it incurred. Patty was given a bill at the end for some use of field dry or something like that, to where I'm asking the city commission if there are costs incurred, would the city cover them? They're nominal at best, that could be incurred, yet I don't think it's appropriate to have the organizer of the tournament and all that have to pay for it, after the fact. With that being said, I also sat down with Alex and tried to be preemptive about it, and through that discussion that we had, he's going to come up with a set of rules for the park. We realized that there are no set any type of rules given from the rec department on down when you're given use of the fields. So there will be rules now. They'll include weather and certain stuff like that, to where you signed on the dotted line, you can't argue about it now. So those are the things that I would like to bring before the city commission. And then also there was one other item, and that is the topic of the donation, we would like to ask the city for some money to help provide for the bounce houses, the amenities. You know, it could go to security, it could go to renting barricades. You know, we're asking for a donation from the city, and the city donated $2,500 last year. I would like to ask for that plus 20% inflation, so I'd like to ask for $3,000.
Hey, that's a national.
I'm just saying, we're getting hit hard here, fellas. But, I appreciate your time, I don't know how else, this is what I wanted to bring before you guys, and, we ask your help for that.
Okay, a couple questions for you first. Number one, so the parking on Bertrand for the parade, tape it off the night before, what if there are cars there the night before?
We'll go around them,
Okay, so,
we're not asking to get cars towed or anything.
good, okay, good. As far as, I mean,
There'd be a way to, sorry,
go ahead.
would there be a way to notify those that live in the apartments?
Yes, I wanna, it's a marketing thing, yeah, we wanna put something out and then tie it onto the city's website and all of that.
'Cause I think last year, they got all the cars removed, all the cars did end up getting removed. I don't think anybody for the red, white, and blue, I don't think anybody was parked on Bertrand.
I wasn't up there for it, so I don't know.
That's correct.
Yeah, they all did,
Cool.
I think voluntarily.
Awesome.
So, when I had met with the city manager earlier, and just, something that you all should be aware of. So the armory is being rented that day, the 29th. And the parking lot just to the west, across the street to the west, is designated for the armory. So it's, basically it's theirs, they get the use of it. So I didn't know if you guys had any, intention of, or wanting to use the armory, but it is being used. It has been,
I don't remember if we
and
had plans.
the other thing, as far as the softball goes, is there, does Patty, is she planning on having another one the nighttime? Because
Yes.
I believe there's one during the day.
The rec has it.
The rec has a slow pitch softball tournament that weekend during the day. So I didn't know.
She's planning on holding her tournament that weekend.
Okay.
I don't know what the timeline is.
Okay.
She'll be doing the volleyball as well.
The one thing that I remember from last year that I think we need to avoid, and maybe this goes to the rules. I wasn't sure, are you saying you support the idea of having a set of rules?
Yes,
or-
100%.
Good. And I think one of the rules needs to be that there's a time at night when the softball tournament ends. I think part of the problem wasn't just the weather, it was a
Sure.
beyond midnight sort of evolution, which I don't.
Historically, the tournaments over the holidays have been all night tournaments.
And like,
Historically. That's
Yeah.
just- Growing up here, they were all night tournaments here.
I don't think we should do that.
People
I don't think it's reasonable.
What isn't reasonable?
I don't think it's reasonable to, you're in the middle of a neighborhood and you're doing something all night long. It just doesn't seem right. To
That
me,
is your opinion.
it's, yes,
So then
that's
there's
my
a park over there, I never knew this stuff was going on.
I mean, the tennis courts, I mean, the parks are open until, I'm not gonna, that's your opinion.
I mean, I want to remind everyone, if you do have something to say, more than happy to hear what you have to say. We ask you please come up. And the other thing is secondary conversations. We ask that you refrain from secondary conversations. It takes away from everybody being able to hear everything that's going on. So anybody that has anything to say, you are more than welcome to come up and say it. We just ask that you don't shout from the seats. Go ahead.
Commissioner Childs, I would chat with Alex then with those, because I have no input on the rules.
Right, I'm just wondering, yes, thank you.
I just thought it was a good idea to have them so that there's no fighting afterwards.
I agree with that, for sure.
The electrical situation is okay?
We got it all figured out.
Anybody else have anything? Go ahead. Go ahead.
I have no questions.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you had a question. Okay, so do we need a motion for the 2,700 or?
Or the 3,000, and the 3,000.
Josh Hagemeyer, and I help with the fundraising sponsorship part of the celebration, and so yeah, at that level, 3,000, the city would also be one of the, I guess it's the underwriting sponsor, so the name and logo would be on all the advertising, all that kind of stuff. And, we'll have like ads before like spoken, sponsored by whoever, before the fireworks, we mentioned in that, so. So yeah, it would be included at the high end of all that. And as far as the armory, I don't know that I think in the past we just reserved it in case of weather, but I don't think that we actually use it for the event, so. Yeah, somebody else is having something there, is what it is.
They don't do bingo there?
That's the night before, a couple nights.
So it'd be, but it's at Armory, just not on the 29th. Okay, cool. They don't have it the 28th?
When is it? Maurice would be
I
able
don't have them covered, but,
We'll follow up on that.
well, regardless, so they're asking for $3,000.
Okay,
And if there's a consensus to do that, it'll be on the next AP or whatever, so you don't have to make a motion.
okay.
And approve then, if there's,
But, I mean, Bob, you kind of mentioned like, renting barricades and police security. We do that, we don't charge people to rent barricades, do we? I mean, that's just.
That's, so depending on the amount of barricades needed to get all the streets blocked off, safely for the parade. That's the reason why I mentioned barricades.
Right, but I was wondering, do we normally charge for that, Maurice, or, yeah, I don't think we charge for that, so we'll.
Correct, that was in case that the city itself does not have enough barricades, because we talked between the utility and the street department, and they weren't sure if there were enough. So then we would have to go rent them.
Okay, I got you.
Mr. Mayor,
The armory was rented the 28th, 29th, and the 30th.
Yeah, so, I mean, you have to plan around that, 28, 29, 30 is rented.
So how do we lock in the 27th if we want the 27th?
Shoot.
Fill out the paperwork.
That's it, okay. No, that's a question.
so.
Yeah,
All right,
27th.
so there's a consensus also, for no charge, the, armory on the 27th.
Yeah, is everybody okay with that, no charge for the armory on the 27th?
Thank you. Progress.
Charging 3,000 for it.
He said no secondary compensation, sir.
Okay, so, and just, you need a consensus on the 3,000.
We got that was it, one
Yeah.
consensus.
All right, one consensus, all right.
Good.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you, buddy.
I appreciate you all here.
All right, next up is ordinance number 1342, zoning map amendment, Airbnb property.
Okay,
Hello, I'm Dave Perry, I live here in St. Mary's. What we are proposing is to get the property just north of this property here at City Hall rezoned to R3. It's currently a mix of industrial and commercial. We would like to put some apartments right there, and we cannot do that the way this currently is zoned. And I think all the information is in the packet, but I'm here to answer any questions that anyone might have.
I just want, this kind of goes hand in hand with the next item as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, we can kill two birds.
It's
if you
Yeah.
rezoning above and then the area to the south.
Thank you, Matt. Yep. Just hit them both at once. How many units you put in?
It's still in the design phase, I'll be in the 15-ish neighborhood.
Does anybody have any questions about the ordinance?
It all makes sense to me.
No, they look good, I mean, I think we'll vote on them.
Okay. Any questions on the street vacation, on the easement?
Does anybody else have any questions or concerns about? No? Okay,
There was one person that comes to.
we'll take them one at a time then. First, entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 1342 as presented.
Mr. Mayor, I so move.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve approve ordinance number 1342, zoning map amendment for Pear Tree Properties. All of those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And then, same thing with ordinance number 1343. If there are no questions or concerns, entertain a motion to approve to vacate Palmer Street, ordinance number 1343.
Mr. Mayor, I so move.
Motion and a second to approve ordinance number 1343 to vacate Palmer Street. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item G, ordinance number 1344, zoning map amendment for Cedar Thicket property.
Hey guys,
Mike?
have a piece of property up north we'd like to develop, and to do that, we want to change it from agriculture to rural residential, and you guys will support it.
Go ahead.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, hi Mike. So on the, jump ahead a little bit, for the part it's the change of UDC on the minimum lot area. So 5 acres, private well, individual lagoon, less than 5 acres, served by public water service, and individual lateral fields.
Private wastewater.
Yeah, so I'm reading this right, but basically this basis of whatever the county's gonna say is gonna be the rule.
Yeah, and to get private wastewater, the county sanitarian has to come out there and approve it. And what we did is just match the UDC for the city with what the county had. And it gave a little bit more flexibility on the smaller land size, just to be able to better or more efficiently utilize the space that was there.
It's really up to the county now anyway, because you have to have 3 acres or 5 acres, and it's there, if you have the.
Well, that's what it was written as, but the county's isn't written that way, and then this county.
Correct, but we weren't approving the sewer out here, and out there anyway.
I'm sorry.
This just gives them the leeway, so if he can have a small enough lot for the proper sewer, he can be down to 2 acres. And it was limited, the minimum was 3.
Right, so, and I think that eliminates the problem in the future, if the county ever changes their rules, where it might.
And since he's here, and that second ordinance is about those setbacks, this is what you got from the county and presented?
Yeah, it wasn't very hard, I mean, we just had it line up with what the county's current setback standards are, and, I think it's been some time since the cities have been done, so just now it aligns with that, at least for the rural subdivisions, so.
So that's number 1345.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what he, Treasurer was talking about was 2, but I just thought he covered some sewer, wasn't proposing it, see the work.
And then do you want to talk about the water surface as well?
I would say after the
Yeah.
ordinances are.
Let's do the ordinances first, okay. All right. So we'll do them again one at a time. Entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 134, zoning map amendment for Cedar Thicket properties.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve ordinance number 1344 as presented.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Mr. Mayor, I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 1344. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And then we'll jump to item I, the ordinance number 1345. Entertain a motion to approve ordinance 1345 UDC rural residential.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve ordinance number 1345, the change to the UDC Article 11 as presented.
We have a motion, do we have a second? We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 1345. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And then, so let's jump back to the water service.
So right now, the areas are like set up as territories, so currently it's in the rural water district territory, And I met with them initially on providing water, and they feel like it's right on the edge of their ability to provide adequate pressure for any type of fire suppression, much less the houses. They don't know, and when I visited with them about it, I wasn't real impressed with the process that they run there and their approach to trying to figure this out. Sounded very expensive, not to know if I'm gonna get it approved or not. I studied the way Country Breeze had got water, and that was through the city. Road Water had no problem in abandoning that easement, giving that, or that right to them. And because city water's right there, I'm hopeful that you all will give Breeze an okay to get some engineering started and see if the city can provide water to this subdivision and allow us to kind of move forward.
Well, it just so happens that Brian Foster, the water guy that we worked, he was here to talk about one of the items. And I approached him or whatever, he doesn't think there's any problem with the non-water. He says, he just wants a heads up, if you accept this territory, then the water lines from the city's repaired, just like Country Breeze, just like Guadalupe. And he says they're gonna have to do a design, that's gonna have to be approved by KDHE, but he would like to have input on it before it's submitted to KDHE. And then there could be a decision due to the capacity study, but he didn't see that as gonna be an issue necessarily. But he would like to see the preliminary design in that case.
Our engineers used to working with KDHE, and it's gonna be able to work with our engineer and just get this design, because it's not very hard, it's pretty easy. And I don't really anticipate any issues.
So the decision would be is if Rural Water would be willing to surrender the territory, would be accepted. So the 2007 one was different, I've never seen it was accepted, it's law now, but that's what he's asking.
Well, they meet once a month, and I'd like to have something for their next meeting saying, hey, I met with the city's supportive of providing water, assuming the capacity. And again, I'm not anticipating that they're going to say no to it, but I know in the last one, I thought they had been provided that from, at least in their note of deeding over, allowing the city to take over the incited, or inside, what was it they said? Decided that the city was in agreement that they can provide that.
Yeah. Yeah, they were commissioned, some,
It was a few years ago.
yeah, 2007.
You just need to,
Well, no, if there's a consensus, because they're not making any decision, they're making like you did a hint.
The key phrase is assuming the capacity is there, which it seems it will be.
Correct, but
There's
also-
always this
Yeah,
possibility.
Assuming that it's available to take over. And so if you need something right, it must be provided. They're interested, but they just,
I'd love to have that, and then just to be able to get the process started with the city's engineer on the capacity. Again, I know it's hard to do, but again, I will find out.
no, what he needs is a preliminary design on the lot,
Gotcha.
and then the size of your lines. Just a fire line, we went over it, because he was here for another reason.
Okay,
His name is Brian Foster, I'll give you his number.
okay, all right.
everybody okay? Okay,
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
thanks, Mike. All right, next item J, library rent. Last time we raised the rent was 2020, or 2021, I'm sorry, from 550 to 600. I think, given the state of the economy, I think maybe a $50 a month increase wouldn't be out of line.
That's a lower rate than what they charged us, or increased
Yeah,
contribution, right?
but that's only once a year, I mean, we're collecting this over 12 months.
So all they want is to send notice, and if they're gonna, some of them are here, for their budget cycle, so are you proposing a consensus $50 increase?
Everybody okay? Okay, you guys okay with that?
Intero said,
$50 a month increase in the rent,
Okay.
all right.
That's the answer.
We're gonna move on, next item is office copier. We had to do the increase in this because the next item is expensive office copier that we're buying. Well, proposed to buy, I'm sorry. All right, Maurice,
So the current copy
You're up.
is 8 years old, it's becoming harder to use, getting a lot, they're really doing a service, but it's getting to a stage where it's, being replaced. We currently have a Sharp's fine, there's another brand called Rico. We asked them to size it up. The Rico version, that would match ours is 8,000, which we're willing to go down on pages per minute. But surely, in the event of it, we have to have the folding unit attached to it. So what they're looking at, we're looking at is $7,374. This company, Century Business Technologies, has the state bid for these kind of copiers, so we did a copier, I don't think, or whatever, so. If purchased, it would be charged, water, sewer, electric, general fund. And they've been lasting about 8 years, so. And so what would be different this time would be the folding unit. We have an external folding unit. It's kind of rinky dink. Yeah, the previous one was really good, but it was $1,500 by itself. So,
Kind of like getting, when Kansas Highway Patrol guiding patrol cars happen and getting on with them and getting one cheaper, trying to get patrol cars.
well, yes, we're getting on their bid now.
And get in on their bid.
Yes. So if there's a consensus, we'll submit the order for the $7,374.69 for the Rico IM 1000. And then we'll just go through the appropriations.
Okay.
We're ready.
Questions on that, or do we have a consensus?
There you go. Appreciate it.
Okay, good, all right. Item I, sidewalk, crosswalk at North Second and Elm Street. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, did talk with, I think we all received it was part of the packet, with Mr. Ben Whitehead, who lives south side of Elm Street between Second and Cedar Tree. And talked about his main concern, just, we're making the right decision whether to go on the south side or the north side if the sidewalk goes in. And then just to make sure that the city's thinking long-term as far as continuing that sidewalk all the way to 6th Street, Highway 63. He just wanted to make sure whether it's a quick, poorly thought out decision. And I assured him that, we're gonna take our time, make sure we talk to the right people, watch pedestrian traffic, make sure we're thinking it through, and yes, that at least from my perspective, it is my intention to try to get that extended all the way to Highway 63 sometime in the future. But I told him that's not really a date that I could tell him right off the bat because I don't know. So as far as Mr. Whitehead, I looked at I think the date on his email, and it was prior to, if I recall correctly, it was prior to my conversation with him, so his concerns might be mitigated. With regards to the whole project, my intention is at the next meeting to come with a cost estimate and request to the city commission to approve a volunteer project out of installing that sidewalk. And we'll go from there, and that's all I have.
We've talked about sidewalks quite a bit in the last few months. And I think one of the things, I know Matthew has said it, and I believe it as well, is consistency. We have, looks like right now we have 3 different types of ways to do the sidewalk. City can absorb the entire cost. We can do the 80-20, or we can do the volunteerism. And then we it kind of goes into the next item in the sidewalk at the post office. The owners of that building have said, they're doing sidewalks all over town and they're paying for them, so why don't they pay for ours as well? So I don't mind, I shouldn't say I don't mind. I just think if we're going to do sidewalks, we should do it the same way all the time. If you can get volunteers for certain projects, I think that's great. But otherwise, I think we need to be consistent on how we are doing this. Are we going to do the 80-20? Is the city going to pay for them? And if so, how are we going to pay for them? but just as long as we remain consistent and we don't, because the next person that comes in, we might tell them, well, no, the sidewalk's out in front of your house, we'll do the, we'll reimburse you 20%. Well, but you built the sidewalk all the way down to Cedar Lane, why'd you do that? But you didn't build a sidewalk in front of my house. So I don't mind doing the project, I just want to get some consistency on it.
Mr. Mayor, just to go back through the history of this, I believe you added to the agenda crosswalk on Second Street at Elm.
Yes.
And so that was approved, but it's difficult having a crosswalk to nothing. And so that was where the conversation of a sidewalk came up. Because if we're gonna have a pedestrian crosswalk at an intersection, historically, those are frowned upon unless there is a sidewalk for the pedestrians to enter onto when they cross the road. So that's where this topic came up. If we're gonna install a sidewalk and it's appropriate that we also, if we install a crosswalk, it's appropriate, we also install a sidewalk.
I agree, I don't disagree, I think we could, but I mean, we could put in a 10-foot sidewalk and just, and just have it to there, instead of going all the way down Elm Street and paying for it, when we have an ordinance that says that it'll be the responsibility of the property owners. So, I'm not, as I said, I'm not opposed, or as long as we talk about it, we come to a conclusion, if we're going to do this, if we're going to pay for all the sidewalks, then let's pay for all the sidewalks. If we're going to pay for, if we can get volunteers anytime, that's great, but if we're not gonna pay for all the sidewalks, then I don't think we should just pick and choose certain projects that we're gonna pay for, and then other projects we charge the property owners up to 80% of the project. So that's why I'm not opposed to the sidewalk. I think it's a good idea. I've seen the foot traffic through there, and it's increased quite a bit. So, so I'm not opposed to it, but I just want to see us be consistent in how we do this.
So I'm not gonna comment at all about the specific sidewalk in front of my house. But I think that we can talk about the principle relative to the post office, so that I'm not mired in anything else.
There you go.
I think, yes, consistency, but I don't think it's all sidewalks or not. I really think it really is based on where the sidewalk is. So for the post office, I know that the building is owned by a private owner, but it's essentially it's a public place. It's very high traffic, and it's a public safety thing. So I think that's different from a sidewalk in a residential neighborhood where there isn't a lot of foot traffic. So I think we should leave ourselves the latitude in each case to see what is the public interest here, which is a combination of factors. That's what I think. So indicate we're not on it yet, but so for example, I would be in support of paying for the work in front of the post office, because then a lot of people go there and use the post office all the time.
That would be mine.
Okay. Any other comments? So what do you need? Do you need it from us?
Well, I understand Francis is bringing back this volunteer sidewalk.
Okay.
Do you want to move forward on the post office one and have Sheila get fresh quotes? So we go to the countywide sales tax fund.
I don't. I want to get us, I want to see where we have some consistency. I think it's, what Matthew said, I hear what you're saying, Matthew, but I don't agree. Who is to determine what is, well, this one should be done because it's a lot of public travel on that one. But this one's in,
Well, I think we are, with the input from Bob and Chief. I'm not gonna point myself as an expert on where we have the greatest need, but I certainly would take their input. Say I think that's the safer way, rather than setting an absolute policy where we tie our hands to where we're now funding every single sidewalk request. We want to see, this genuinely is something that's in the for the good, the common good of a large number of people. So I do think that this, I prefer to leave it in the hands of the decision-making body because we're expending the money. But we should be convinced by the individual case. That's where I think the consistency is, and that's where the post office fits the model that has been established recently, where we have a downtown area, lots of foot traffic, we invest in that. We have a new sidewalk going up Second Street north of Mount Calvary. You know, there's increased traffic, we're already doing a gutter project there, we're investing money, okay, we're gonna pay for it. So I think that's where the consistency is. The consistency is that the decision-making body for the proper execution of public funds makes a decision based upon the benefits of the public. I see great advantage to the public in doing this sidewalk right, because I think Bob said something that's a fairly difficult. If the
It's
one.
on a slope and the
Yeah, so
curve
that-
is, the
This
gap
has to
is
be done right, so I think this is a case where,
that, but the difficulty lies in that we can't touch the curb and gutter, which is the city's responsibility, without
right,
interfering with the actual sidewalk, because it's on a slope and it's touching in many places.
so just as an example, like that, the kind of scenario where there's a compelling argument for in a couple of ways because of the nature of the project itself and because it's a public access area where it's worth our investment. I think that's where the consistency is.
Okay. So, well, let's start, we'll finish item L, which, Matt, I know you're not gonna get involved in. We need a consensus on getting estimates with the volunteer program.
Well, you haven't decided if you're gonna, well, I'm just saying he can do that on his own and bring it to the next meeting
Right.
without any
Is
agreement.
that what you wanted to do? Okay, that's fine, yeah. And
And then if you wanna address the one in the post office, you know, we do have last year's quotes, they'd probably be fairly similar. We won't know until we do it.
Well, what do you need on item M then?
Well, just if there's a consensus of this, and this can work on it, yeah. Just authorize Shimmer to get quotes again and bring it back.
I'm in favor of that.
All right. All right, item N is certificate of deposit number 3214. All right, the first bid comes from Cobb Valley State Bank, City of St. Mary's, RE, CD number 40646. Dear Commissioners, please consider our bid for the above described certificate of deposit with an annual percentage yield of 5.01% for maturity in 6 months and 4.91% for maturity in 12 months. If you have any questions regarding our bid, please do not hesitate to call. Thank you for your consideration, Joshua and Amy. Next one is from Bank of the Flint Hills, City of St. Mary's. Maurice Cordell, City Manager. The Bank of the Flint Hills would like to submit the following bids for the certificate of deposit number 40646 in the amount of $470,126.90. That matures on April 13th, 2024. 6-month, 4.85 APY, 12-month, 5.05 APY. Thank you for the opportunity. Sincerely, Israel Fuentes. Jim? Yeah, they are a little different. Yeah, let's.
number was, is that, the number wasn't the same as. that
It is the wrong one on the agenda.
Yeah, they're each, their numbers, their CD numbers
I
match.
think it's at the wrong.
You got the, that's, I saw that as well, I was wondering about that. So, so now you think the 12-month through Bank of Foothills at 5.05?
That's what I would.
We didn't make a motion.
Well, I kinda, I don't know about, I mean, are we thinking that we're gonna go up? Is that something we should do, look at another 6 months? In this case, the 5.01. Yeah, it is an election. I mean, since they're so close, I'd rather go with the 6 month, 5.01%, but whatever the majority wants.
Well, I would move to, accept the, bid from Bank of Flint Hills for 12 months at 5.05%.
We have a motion to accept the bid from Bank of the Flint Hills, 12 months at 5.05%. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we won't even go on to my idea because I won't get it anyway. All right, so that's, I vote no on that, by the way, but it's, so we have Bank of the Flint Hills, so following bid is 12 months at 5.05%. Engineering agreement with BG Consultants.
So this would be for the water lines that Don had thought were of immediate concern. It's not any of the 4 projects that were done by the water study. It would be, the agreement would be for $33,700 and would take care of most of those processes, design, getting it approved by the state and then putting it out for bids. And that sort of stuff. The stuff that they do is identified in the scope of services, exhibit 1 on page 11. That's a little bit on the next page. It doesn't appear to do the construction observation and that sort of stuff. We get you to it, bid accepted, and then there'll be a supplemental agreement for it to have to do something. May not be necessary on this one, but we don't know. This is the one that we remember to pay for up front.
Yep.
30% plus the work. I don't know what it'll be. Quotes that Don got are fine, except that we can go through the engineering process like we're supposed to, and we have to provide bond and all that stuff. We're gonna get some layers of costs on there that we would have in our bid, so I don't know what the dollar amount would be, but it's the proper way to handle it.
Do you need a motion or just
If there's
consensus?
any questions,
Well, yeah.
not that I can answer them, but I don't know.
Any questions on that?
Commissioner, just to clarify, Don's looked through this as far as the scope of services, this is what he needs to get those 2 projects.
Yeah, so they met Monday and went over it to make sure. And that's when I talked about the conditions. This is what, now Don didn't come to the contract, but they discussed what they want done.
Thank you, and I would support the agreement as presented.
Everybody agree? All right. Item P, I'm sorry,
Is there a motion on that?
did you want one?
For $33,700, the auditor would
All
appreciate
right.
it.
What's the exact amount for you is 33?
Yeah, I think just said the agreement consultant client with BG Consultants as presented, and that's $33,700.
All right, I entertain a motion to, enter into the engineering agreement with BG Consultants as presented.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the BG consultant agreement as presented for $33,700.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the engineering agreement with BG Consultants for $33,700. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
And so when we met with the engineer, he also said he was looking for guidance on the projects, that water study. There was an email I included in the packet. He talks about the future of the current availability of funds being limited, the future ability of funds being limited.
So this is Q,
Excuse me.
this is Q, right?
Is that it?
No, this,
This is still part of the engineering agreement.
Uh,
I guess it could be Q. Yeah, let's carry it over to Q then. The use-
O and Q are the same?
Well, you can cover, it's water
Cover
infrastructure
both,
versus
right,
agreement. It's similar. Okay.
All right,
What's the next one?
lead service line inventory questionnaire.
Yeah, so the cities are required to do this lead service line inventory. Have to do the city side, have to do the customer side, has to be done by October. We've got a lot of the city side done. This is a survey that's put together by the state. Other cities have used it. We're gonna put it in the May 1st utility bill with a return envelope, perhaps yellow like that golf course survey, and get that back. We're required to, we'll hopefully use a good copy of it for me. I told you before I sent anything out, I'd show you what we was gonna send out, and that's what we're sending out. It's not our form, it's the state's. We'll have to go through and proofread it and see how it works. So, not really an action item, but I know it's out there so that people know what it was.
All right, do we need to, any more on Q, water sewer infrastructure projects?
Zach can do that water report and then
Great,
funding status.
any questions on that?
On the questionnaire, P,
On P, yeah, on Q?
well, I was, my only input from reading through the presentation, part of which I understood. The thing I understood for sure is money's running out, and if we don't get an initial application in by mid-May, I think we're gonna be disadvantaged.
And then in a couple of years, it's gonna be,
Right.
boom, nothing.
That's the
Well,
current outlook. You never know how these are gonna go. I would also say that project one does contain well 7 in the park. Well 7 has been identified as needing replaced in a certain timeframe. I mean, it's not a drop dead
Right,
date.
so we're looking to refine exactly what we want our priorities to be, but we know we have them, and we know that we're gonna need to fund them. And as I recall, I remember pretty distinctly that they can be pretty generalized on their request for the loan and adjust amounts later on. So, it seems to me we should get our foot in the door on this.
I'm sorry, so what's the questionnaire exactly? I don't know.
The questionnaire is to find out what sort of piping goes into people's homes.
It's a requirement that we don't have,
It was a-
lead lines.
It was an EPA mandate passed down to the state. The EPA wants 53 items answered about people's homes from the water supply. The state said no, we'll only do 26, but you have to at least do 4, so we're doing 4. So it's, whatever.
I thought this was a questionnaire to go out to all the
Whatever.
residents.
It is.
It is.
Yeah, we're gonna inquire about the age of their home and the type of service and, you know.
I have a feeling you won't get a lot of response from that. That's another.
Well, we just want to see it get
All right. Good, moving on. Park improvements, item R.
There's a variety of items under park improvements. So one of the main items under this was, Mr. Perry, you'd asked for a work session. You could maybe explain.
Dave Gray.
Dave Perry.
So recently, Bob Schindler called our office and asked if we could come down and look at some of the baseball field lights and softball field lights. It's kind of been an issue that Don has brought up in the past about how expensive they're getting to maintain and replace. So we've worked out a couple different options as far as upgrading to LED lighting, everything from, hey, let's put a Band-Aid on it to get us through a year, 2 years, or whatever, till we get a little bit extra money, or hey, here's the whole shoot match, we can do every light in place and new poles on field 5, plus the volleyball and the tennis fields, tennis courts. So, really, it's gonna be kind of a lot of work for us to go through all the different options. What we'd really like from you is to see what the 3, 5, 10-year plan looks like as far as the park and the upgrades, so that we can have a little work session and say, all right, look, this will get you to this year, this will get you to this year, this is about how much money you could save, this is about how much it would cost to make these improvements. And if it doesn't make sense financially to do everything at once, then maybe it becomes something that we do every year, 2 years to make small upgrades. We've talked to Don about replacing some of the smaller fields with some pretty cost-effective options. And then he would be able to move his ballast and bulbs that he's got on those fields, put them in storage to use on the bigger fields when those ones go out. So, like I said, we didn't wanna come to you guys with 7 different options all laid out on a spreadsheet. We kind of wanna just sit down in a work session and hash out whatever details you guys think make sense financially, and then whatever Don and Bob think from a practical standpoint, and then we can just work on 2 or 3 options.
Would you meet with the rec board prior to that and get their input, or is that something, I don't know if that's something we do all together, or?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly can. I think the impetus for the conversation was just the cost of the existing light fixtures is getting high to replace.
Or they're obsolete too, some of the lights up there, like Don was saying.
Yeah, they're getting hard to find too. He said he's got a couple that have been out for a long time because they're getting really hard to find parts for.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, quick question, Dave, these lights currently are not LED.
Correct.
Switching over to LED. Yeah, very rough guess. So you're gonna have to guess how many hours they're kind of running per year, all that.
So it's
Just-
ROI on
Yeah, or
LED.
just what's kind of the savings you can estimate per year? on
So
those LEDs?
it's ROI on stadium lighting, or ball field lighting it's pretty spread out because they're only on for 4 months out of the year, 4 hours out of the day, 5 days out of the week. So it's not like if you own a 1,000,000 square foot facility and you change out all your high bays from 400 watt metal halides to LEDs, you're gonna get your money back in, within a year. This is not like that. It's mostly the parts and pieces for the existing fixtures are getting expensive and hard to find. So I don't know that we can do an ROI, we can figure out how long it'd take to get your money back. We would probably wanna see the utility bills, like what the electric bills are for those fields. And then I can send that to the supplier and then they can run the calculations. But they've told me it's not right away that you start getting your money back, cause they're just not on now.
Well, but they would also last longer, correct, under normal circumstances?
Yeah, so what we found with metal halides and high pressure sodiums is they're just not being constructed very well because they're getting more expensive, the regulations are getting more strict, they're just not being built well, so they're not lasting as long. I mean, everyone talks about how their incandescent bulb lasted 20 years and they never had to change it out, And now if you can even find an incandescent bulb, it doesn't last you near that long. The technology is just not there. Now, LEDs, they're like everything else. They say, yeah, they last 50,000 hours, they don't last that long. The other components within the LED, they can fail as well. There's drivers and other things like that that still require maintenance. But
I'm not exactly sure, I was looking through this, do these LEDs come with other options on lighting that you could use for other events or other,
they certainly do, but it's a matter of getting an 80-foot pole truck and getting them down and then shifting them
Do you have to
wherever you go.
reconfigure them? There's just not a, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you have to physically remove them from the pole.
And one more question, Maurice, currently the replacement parts for all these lights are coming out of the electric fund, is that correct? It wouldn't be coming out of parks, I mean, if we're
It would
replacing.
have been sales tax, I think Don buying them out of electric, just like we would the street light bulbs and just like we would be doing those sort of things.
And then one more question, Dave, the amount of time and effort you're putting into this, so that's,
Just donated time, we're just, and
thanks.
when we talked about the, like the big project, which is every light in the park and brand new, lights for Field 5, there was quite a bit of donated time in there too, so this isn't me making a sales pitch or anything. If you don't want them, that's fine, it'll save us some money.
So when would you like to have this work session?
Next meeting is around the 7th, is that right?
So 6 o'clock, so you got a rotation tonight?
Can we just send some emails between here and there and kind of iron that out a little bit? Or do we have to determine it tonight?
Oh, no, you can do whatever you want, I mean, if you wanna have one at the next meeting though, it needs to be announced publicly here tonight.
Right.
But if you just wanna wait, and have it another time,
We can plan for it.
and it doesn't have to coincide with the city, they appreciate it when they do, but it could be on an off night if they were available.
Can we just plan on it, and if, something happens and someone can't make it, we just push it back?
Plan on the 7th? Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea to have the rec committee, someone from the rec committee here, just so we can make sure it matches their strategic.
If not all of them, I don't know if that would be chaos, but
Well, at least,
We did it down in the park, didn't you? We had the-
not enough lighting
You
down
were
there
on
right
board.
now.
you know,
They had a joint meeting in the park.
so everybody okay with the 7th at 6 p.m.?
Yes.
Let me add it so I don't forget. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next item is the golf course entrance. So I met with Bill Drew from the college and talking about once the golf course gets going, you know, God willing, the current entrance to the golf course is also shared with the academy and college entrance. And I don't know if anybody's been around there about between 3 and 3:30 in the afternoon, but it's not easy to get in or out. So I know this has been talked about before, and it's, and the railroad is not very, they don't really take too kindly to putting in new entrances or moving entrances, but it's something that I would like to see looked at. As Bill said, he didn't want it for a couple reasons. Number one, he didn't because they would have to change the flow of traffic the way the parents come in to pick up their children down there by Our Lady Circle. And then two, the library is across the street, and I guess students from the academy go over there, so there's still, you know, you need to be some type of way for the kids to walk across the tracks. Again, I don't know if it's possible, but if it, I know it was looked into years ago. I believe actually Father Andres was looking into trying to get that changed. I don't know if that's something, I mean, that's something I'd like to see looked at, to see if the railroad would even consider it.
So you're talking about, sorry, you're talking about adding additional one
No,
or?
closing the one at basically Grand Avenue, or Our Lady Circle, and moving it to the east. And basically you come in and you go left, you go to the academy and college, and straight you go to the golf course, or straight you go up the hill to the academy and college. That's what I'd like to see. And I don't know if they would, I don't even know if it's possible if the railroad would even do that, or if we did that and then also, oh, by the way, we still want the kids to be able to walk across you know, the old entrance to the academy.
Yeah, the thing, I thought about that after we mentioned they probably try to tag us for the signaling cost too. You know, not just changing the entrance, and I'm not sure what that would be.
Right.
That would complicate matters, but they're generally willing to talk. It's been a few years since we spoke with them, but they usually want, they would gladly do it, I'm sure, if we close another crossing in town.
Right, give them 2 for 1,
Correct. Or something like that.
the railroad for it.
Well, their argument was they have all these crossings in such a short area with all these radio signals. It's a burden to maintain. Anyway,
Would you need a consensus to look into that?
so what I would try to do, see if Jason with PG Consultants, since he already has contact with them, and see if we could make an inquiry that way if you're willing. I just call it there.
Any concerns about that, or, go ahead.
But just, maybe you said this at the beginning, but what would this accomplish by moving the entrance?
Well, it kind of goes hand in hand with if we get the golf course done. If we get the golf course done, the amount of traffic going in and out of the current entrance, it's certain times during the day, I mean, traffic is backed up quite a bit, right? Especially if somebody coming out of the academy wants to turn to the east, turn left and go to the east, that makes it even more difficult. And so I thought if we were looking to moving the entrance further to the east, it would alleviate some of that. You wouldn't have all the Grand Avenue traffic from the public schools coming, which occurs a lot at the same time, and Bill wants to talk.
With your permission, Bill Bosworth?
Hold on 1 second, Bill. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
Does the city own any right of way between 24 and the railroad tracks east of our current entrance to the Academy Golf Course? That strip of grass between the tracks and 24?
We mow it.
Well, it's a shared right of way, I believe, with the state and Raleigh and the city.
I guess what I'm driving at, is it possible that we could put a turn lane, instead of having just 2 lanes of traffic, have a turn lane, either, you know, at the new entrance to the golf course and academy, or at the existing, have a turn lane coming from the east to be able to turn in, or, we've got space, is what I'm saying, but use the existing space that we have in a different way than it's being used now. Would that alleviate or help,
I think, I don't disagree with you, but I think the even better solution is, it would cost a heck of a lot more, would be to enlarge the entrance to the academy and put a left turn lane in there. So when you're coming out of the academy at the railroad tracks, you either turn left, right, or someone coming in.
if the railroad doesn't agree to any other idea, if you could,
But that would, they've got those stone structures there that
would have to be moved.
would have to be moved or eliminated. I don't know if they would go for that. I doubt they would go for the elimination of it. But, I'm just
Just didn't
saying.
know if that was a city property that you had an option with it maybe? Just a thought.
Anyway, I'd like to see us look at that as a possibility. If we're going to be able to get this golf course going, then I think it's going to become an issue. And then we have you want to talk about everything about, can we talk about the other issues with the golf course now? or-
It's on there.
Okay. We've also, on the golf course and the parks, this kind of takes both the park improvements and the golf course all in the same conversation here. There's been talks, about ways of funding the golf course if we do the project, be it a grant, and then also revenue share, profit sharing with Great Life if they are the ones that run the golf course. But there's also been the idea floating of a sales tax, half-cent sales tax.
Well, it could be a quarter cent if you're focusing on the golf course alone, a half cent if you want to do golf course and funnel some of the other recreational projects. Require a referendum, of course, you know, how popular that might be, but I think it's an avenue that would be worth exploring just to see, you know, what it would take and to make a decision at another meeting.
I'd like to see us look at it. Again, I don't know how popular it would be, especially in St. Mary's. I don't know if it would pass or not. But if it did pass, at least it would be the majority of the people saying that they want the increase in sales tax for parks, for the golf course, things like that.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too time consuming, talk to the city attorney and,
I guess we'll do these one at a time. Can we look at the golf course entrance? Is that something anybody else is interested in? If not, then we'll move on. Or the entrance to the academy.
So what I would say about the entrance, my thought is on that, I don't know how much time would be spent putting work into that when we don't know for sure if the golf course is gonna be a thing. I'd certainly like to see it happen if it makes sense, but is that something that we could hold off and not use city employees' time to look into that until there's a little bit more clarity on that?
I mean, we could, I don't even know how long that would take, or is that just one simple phone call, or?
Yeah, that's a.
I'm pretty sure they'd be willing to meet with Noel to discuss it. I don't think that, they've never said no before, it's just what they're asking for is a lot.
When you say they,
The railroad,
the railroad would meet with us.
they'll be with, we had one during the middle of the day when Joe Bryan was on the board and he arranged that. And, you know, we had a good conversation and nothing materialized because of costs and closings that were asked.
Well, I mean, I guess to answer your question, sorry, I think if it's wait, I can request to add it as an agenda item for a future meeting then, if we want to go that route. Which is fine. And then the sales tax issue. Any interest?
I'd write a memo and I would reference it to the city attorney, because what the city has now, the 1 cent sales tax and the general retailer sales tax, that's gonna be different than what you'd be looking at, and it'd just be getting the statute and the language right. And so I'd spend a little time putting the memo together and then take action, don't take action.
Would you just need a consensus to do that project, or
Yeah, I mean,
line for it? I don't know. Anybody else?
Well, this sounds like an increase in taxes.
Sales tax increase, but we're leaving it up to the people of St. Mary's, it's not.
That's true.
If the referendum fails, then it shows that they do not want that.
I just thought our entrant argument for this whole golf course thing was we weren't gonna increase taxes.
Correct, but if the citizens want to increase taxes and pay for it, we leave it up to them.
Okay, we still don't have hard costs, I mean, they
No,
put
we-
a spreadsheet together, so.
No, we don't
it's,
have hard costs yet, I agree, but
And I would acknowledge it would, when I have heard input over the past couple of years, that people would like to see improvements in the park, so having some more money for recreation is not a bad idea, but I'm just a little bit leery about increasing taxes, and I don't, as far as the entrance goes, I agree, I don't know that we need to worry about it unless we know that there's gonna be increased traffic on the golf course. But I think you also started by saying that the representative of the property owner wasn't interested, so I don't know how we work around that.
well, no, again, I don't know if Bill is the final say on the
Yeah,
issue, or do we go to Father Rutledge and ask him directly?
that seems like a fairly significant.
I'm not gonna go into everything that Bill and I talked about, he asked that I not, so I won't. But, I think that his rationale, besides the, children walking back and forth, everything else that he presented to me, I don't agree with. I think there's a workaround, but I'm not, again, I told him I wouldn't go into, he asked that I not, so I won't.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So the entrance, maybe in the past, if somebody wanted to contact the railroad, somebody just did it, you could do the research, so, but I don't think that project will ever happen. Probably a waste of time. Also, we looked at it in the past, just never hit the priority list as far as the amount of money that it would cost. As far as the sales tax question, it's a different way of operating than I've seen commissions operate in the past. I think, we normally did research first and understood what we were discussing before we move forward on an idea. And I think if we look back at even the survey had very specific questions. The golf course would pay for itself. It would pay for the loan. Very specific question. And that very specific question, words have meanings. People replied to that. And so to now say, well, let's ask a whole other different question, but it goes back to the first concept of, do we even know what we're talking about? There's no contract, there was never an RFP, there has yet to be a budget analysis of what a golf course would even look like. So I think that's maybe the first step, is to actually look at what we're trying to do, look at what the projections on budget numbers would be, and then we'll actually know what we're talking about. Because right now, it's, it's been discussed for well over a year now, and it just keeps going around in circles. So it's because we're not following the correct process. We have to first understand the numbers, understand what we're trying to accomplish before we start moving forward with random ideas. So I would not be in favor of any work in sales tax, because we need to clarify what it is we're actually doing. The benefit of clarifying what we're doing on the front end is we don't change consistently through the whole process. I think that's what's happening now. So I think the first step, and that's why we're putting out an RFP, RFQ, clarifies what we're trying to accomplish on the front end, so we know what we're dealing with, we know what we're actually deciding. So I'm not in favor of the sales tax effort.
The RFP is a moot issue as far as, I think the majority of the commissioners have even said that we're not gonna put out an RFP, because if we go forward with this, it's gonna be through Great Life, because the only way that this golf course could work is with the Top Tracer technology. And Great Life is the only company that can provide Top Tracer. So the RFP portion is to me, is a moot point. The sales tax, I think, is part of the process, seeing if that's something that the people of St. Mary's would be interested in. If it's absolutely no, it goes down 95 to 5, then we know we have to look at other avenues, other ways of approaching this. And we're still in the process of figuring out what we want the contract to look like. We're still in the process of trying to get numbers out of them. And I know it's been difficult to do, and they've been reluctant because they have no idea what kind of revenue they're going to make in the first year. They could give us, I've spoken to Rick numerous times about it. He said, I could give you a guess, but that's all it would be. Here's a guess. So, I just think this is part of that process that you're referring to. So like I said, as far as I'm concerned, the RFP is a moot point, because we would be going, either we go with Great Life or we don't go at all on the golf course. Because we know from past experiences that the city, a golf course cannot operate and cash flow by itself. We know that. We didn't want to raise taxes, property taxes specifically, to pay for that. But I think that if there is interest in a sales tax to help the parks and the golf course to maybe make up that, if there is a shortfall in revenue projection, in the revenue sharing or profit sharing, and I just think that's part of the whole grand scheme of things. Bill first.
Bill Bosler, in case you forgot.
No, I did.
Okay. I'm not a golfer, but I do have a question. Why do we not have a golf course in St. Mary's? I mean, we used to. So what's the backstory on that?
Couldn't pay for itself. We were spending too much money subsidizing it, is what the,
What's the problem?
prior commissions determined. That's why it was ultimately.
So the ball fields are a cash flow? The park is a cash flow? I mean, are there lots of things that, is the city a for-profit organization? Or is it, for the, quality of life of the residents? I don't know, I'm asking questions, I don't know, but I'm not a golfer, I don't have a dog in the fight, but I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, but the golf course or the property was donated to the city specifically for recreation and or golf course, is that not correct?
Yes, I believe so.
And if you're given a gift with a condition that you maintain that gift, and you don't maintain that gift, is that not, you're not upholding your end of the bargain? You're given a gift specifically, here city, this is the golf course, and this property, you maintain it, we're gonna give it to you for nothing, and we didn't do that. Now we're having a problem, we're spending money to get this fixed, or trying to find somebody else to come in and pick up our problem that we should have been taking care of in the first place. I put that on the city of St. Mary's, maybe not you guys individually, but the city of St. Mary's, past commissions or whatever. The fact we don't have a golf course, and we're gonna argue that it's not profitable, you can't tell me that the ball fields are profitable. That we're making money, we're cash flowing ball fields, and all the other stuff that the city does. So my question is, don't we have a moral obligation to maintain this gift that was given to us? And if we're not maintaining that gift, that's a moral failing on our part. That's kind of where I look at this, and it's, correct me if I'm wrong, show me where I'm missing this. If we were given this property as a gift and we're not maintaining our gift, we're not upholding our end of the bargain, shame on us, shame on us. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. I agree with you, by the way. No,
Jennifer Harris, just real quick, when you mentioned sales tax, I'm not opposed to seeing a sales tax being raised because you're bringing in other people from outside of St. Mary's all the time to shop the shops and whatnot. So you're getting money outside of St. Mary's to help pay for something you might want. But I would like to ask the city once again to put it on their hot list to try to join other cities and counties to figure out how we can drop food sales tax alongside of the state. So when the state said they're going to 0%, they kind of handcuffed cities and counties to not have two rates. And I was told that by a man up in the state level dealing with taxes, they put out information to all cities and counties to let them know that this was happening and that the cities and counties can fight to have two rates, but not many cities and counties joined the mission. So if we as the city of St. Mary's could look into that so that food sales tax could go to 0 alongside of the state, and then if you want, you want to go buy a pretty pillow or you want to go play golf or whatever, fine, tax the fun, but the necessity of life for food, I'd like to see go to 0. So if you want to play around with sales tax, you're gonna up the food sales tax, but I want to see then St. Mary's try to figure out how we can bring that to 0 for food. That's my opinion.
Thank you. So, we have a consensus though to at least look into the sales tax referendum?
Well, could I,
Yeah.
because we were asked a question and
Yeah, well, go
the requirement of the property is to use it as a recreational space, not explicitly as a golf course. So as far as the moral obligation, and the legal obligation, that's the obligation. And I would also say that there's a distinction between a golf course and a park in that the golf course is something that, yes, anyone could use, but you have to be a member and you, so you're paying, so it's similar, but there is a distinction, whereas the park is open to everyone all the time. Yes, we should be providing recreational facilities for quality of life, and so we're all agreed on the big picture of all that. But as far as the moral question goes, I think we're fine there. As far as what are the services that we think we should responsibly invest in for the community, that's the question that we're wrestling with. And just, if you're interested, which I was after I read it, Maurice actually wrote a history of the golf course, and it's pretty interesting, going back to its beginning. And part of it that's very interesting for me is we've gone through this, since whenever it was, have gone through the cycle any number of times, starting with the Jesuits. We have a golf course, it's gonna be great, and probably was as far as the golf goes, but then it didn't fund itself. So that's the situation we're in, and since the previous kind of council commission went through a fairly long and detailed process and determined, this isn't beneficial, and shut it down. From the beginning, my thing is not so much I want or don't want, but I'm always hesitant. If you've gone through a process where you've done due diligence, made a decision, I think we have to be very careful about reversing it without having compelling reasons to say, okay, what is so profoundly different that reverses that? And the argument on the table is top tracer. So that's kind of where we are. But I wanted to answer that question about the moral obligation part in any case.
Hi, I'm Jen Brinkman. My argument would be, you say that we need to keep the golf course, our requirement is to be recreation, but I've been up there many times over the past couple of years and there's no maintaining it, it's not safe for recreation. The city, nobody cleans the paths off, there's tree branches overhanging, there's, poison ivy crawling up on the sidewalks, there's tree branches overhanging. You're aware I did spring cleanup 2 years in a row, we went up there and did it ourselves, which I think is fine. I think it's fine to have volunteers do it, but there was nobody from the city saying, hey, you guys, we need help to clean up the golf course so that people can safely use it as recreation. And 2 years ago, the golf course wasn't even on the city website, advertised, I don't know if it is now either, like, people didn't even know that you could go up there and walk. So how are we, as a city, still fulfilling our obligation of providing that space in that area of recreation? Now, I'm also not a golfer, but I do think that having the golf course here in St. Mary's would be beneficial in more ways than we can even count. I think that there's so many benefits, like Jenny mentioned about people coming here to shop, and then we're getting that sales tax revenue, it just makes sense. Every time we go to the swimming pool in Winnebago, because there's no pool here anymore, we go to Sonic and get shakes, and we go to Pizza Hut and get pizza, we go to the gas station and get gas, so we're supporting the Winnebago economy. The same idea, I think, applies to if we had a golf course here, people will come, and especially with having Great Life, people will come from all over if they have those Great Life memberships, and I'm a nurse, I take care of a lot of people, and a lot of golfers have told me they will drive all over the place to check out new golf courses, so I don't think, I think there's just a lot of benefits that we can put on paper. And then to Bill's point, also, I'd like to know how decorative crosswalk signs are gonna pay for themselves. I'm not against beautifying the town and making it aesthetically pleasing and improving the town, but let's apply that same energy to Parks and Recreation. Thank you.
Matthew, I want to just touch on one thing, and something you said and Genevieve said. We are not, we subsidize the golf course now. We spend some money up there, not very much. The buildings are falling apart. They're just getting older. There's a lot of, I think, Genevieve, kind of what you're saying is there are potential lawsuits waiting to happen up there. If it's open and kids go up there and they go into those buildings and they get hurt or something. So one of the arguments has always been, well, we can't subsidize the golf course. Well, hell, we subsidize the golf course. We still subsidize the golf course. We still put money into the golf course. Maybe it's only $5,000-7,000 a year, but we still put money out of the general fund. We're taking from property taxes and we're subsidizing the golf course. I know there's a lot of unanswered questions with Great Life, and I apologize for, I get very passionate about this, that we have been spinning our wheels on this, and we need to get moving on it, and in my opinion, get this done, get this deal done. I'm not gonna second guess what prior commissions did. I can only second guess what I did when I was the prior commissioner. And when I was on commission, we made mistakes when it came to the golf course. We made big mistakes. So, I didn't really pay attention a lot. I probably should have paid more attention to what happened between the time I got off the first time and the time I got back. But between those 2 points, we went from having a top 10 9-hole golf course in the state of Kansas to having a cow pasture with dilapidating buildings. And I don't ever want to see that used for primarily recreation, but I don't ever want to see that property used for anything but a golf course. I think that was the intent of it. I think even if you can't appreciate golf, just go stand on the deck of the clubhouse and overlook the valley, and you're not gonna find a more beautiful view, I think, in the state of Kansas. And I think it can produce the amount of revenue that we need. After speaking with the city commissioner, the city manager many times, I do believe that if we do go forward with a sales tax referendum, that's just, as I said, just a part of this process, to see if that is how it could be, we could fund both. If the people of St. Mary's come back and say, no, we'll take a quarter sales tax for the parks, but we don't want anything for the golf course, so be it. Or if they say, we don't want any sales tax increase, so be it. Then the people have spoken, and I believe that we answered that question. But I'd still like for us to, I think we are, again, spinning our wheels on getting this contract done. I want to see a contract written up that we can present to Great Life and try and then at least if we present Rick with a contract, we could maybe get some numbers from him, some estimates on what kind of revenue we're looking at. I want to pursue the grant issue and see if we can't get some of the funding for that. Maybe we won't get as much as we think, but I'd like to see us pursue that. But every meeting, we talk a little bit about it, but then we don't do anything about it, and I'm tired of not doing anything about it. I want to do something about it. So I'd like to look at the possibility of sales tax referendum. I'd like to get the ball rolling on this contract. I'd like to get the application process on the grant going. And yeah, I know it's probably not, Chuck, you may be right, it's not, we don't immediately need to know if the entrance can be changed, but if we get the golf course going, that's something we definitely need to look at, is changing that entrance to the academy. So I'm just tired of us spinning our wheels all the time, and I want to get moving forward on some of these things. So if we have a consensus on the referendum, then I'd like for the city manager to be able to look into that. So I guess that's what I'm asking for tonight, is if there is a consensus. I know Mayor Camp said no, but I don't know what the other commissioners, if that's something that they're willing to let us take a look at.
So what is that you're wanting to do? Just to put out a referendum or
No,
look into
no,
what
no.
the wording might be for
To spend the time, find the process that it's gonna take to make it happen. We already know it has to be by the county, clerk license coming first, the other November ballot. But the process you have to go through to figure out which statute you use, it would probably take the city attorney.
Okay, so we're trying to, if I were to concur with this, I'm saying, yes, I'm willing to see what a referendum would look like and what, but I'm not saying I'm in support of.
It would be about a half an hour of the city attorney's time or so, because he's done some of these before, sales tax questions. He's the one that told me it'd be different than a general retailer sales tax that we currently have. I just don't want to spend time that puts up together doing once.
Well, personally, I don't see a problem with knowing the answer to that question, but the reason we're spinning our wheels is because we don't have data. I've said from the beginning, how on earth can we start asking for a grant if we don't know the amount? How on earth can we commit to even say, hey, we need to raise the taxes, but we don't know why, we don't know for how much, we don't know how much it's gonna cost. I'm not comfortable doing that. So that's what we're spinning our wheels.
Well, I'm sorry.
We had this draft agreement that I edited, not to say this is what it has to be, but to do it, and that's been sitting around for several weeks now. If you wanna edit it, edit it. But I still fairly strenuously disagree with the idea that an RFP is a moot point. I just don't think you say, well, I need a solution, and there's the answer to my question, just one vendor. So I disagree with that, and those are some of the reasons that we're spinning wheels. We could take some specific action, and getting information doesn't bother me.
Well, I, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe at one of our recent meetings, we had 3 commissioners that said the RFP is a moot point, that we're going with Great Light. That's if I remember.
I don't think it was an agenda item that said that if there
No,
was, that's the end of it.
No, we talked about an RFP, and the consensus, majority consensus was, we don't need to put it out for proposal. We don't need to put anything out, because if we think that we're going to get a different company come in here and actually make more revenue than what the only company in the state of Kansas that has the license to do top tracer can do, then no, it won't, I wouldn't be in favor of it, man, because I don't think it would work. I know it wouldn't cash flow. So, what you said, I agree with you, we need to get information, but as far as the RFP goes, I'm pretty sure that we had a consensus, the majority of the commissioners said, no, we're not gonna put it out for RFP, we're gonna go with Great Light. If we go down this path, it's gonna be with Great Light. If we need to redo that, Maurice, then so be it at the next meeting, I will need to redo that.
I know that the city lawyer for sure said it wasn't required after that.
Right.
I do remember that.
So on the consensus about the referendum,
I am okay with getting information about what that would look
Same.
okay.
like. I'm in no way supporting, at the moment, raising any taxes.
For the record,
Where's the camera?
For the record, Matthew, either am I,
Alright,
but
good,
I
that's what
would
I
like to
thought.
see what it looks like.
Thank you.
Okay. Can we talk about the water turnoff issue, because I know there's somebody that's been here for the whole meeting that's come specifically to talk to that about. So why don't you go ahead, Maurice, and present that real quick, and if we have questions on it.
Yeah, the manor has some plumbing issues, and built in the 60s with some of the plans. And when we try to isolate the valves, it takes effort to get, a couple years ago, we tried to isolate it, we were only able to slow it down, so they have to work with the line putting out water. And they're gonna fix it this time so that they can isolate it or whatever, so it's not something you wanna do in the dark, and it's not something you wanna do, otherwise you can just look in the environment, so that's what it was, and 2:30, public school, it would affect the elementary school. That's most of the day, I don't know what they're gonna do, they've been contacted about it. So, that's pretty much it, that target area that was put out on this map would be the best case scenario. 2 years ago, they kept having to backtrack and go back further to find another valve to shut off. But some of the valves haven't been exercised in a while, so, they're gonna go back further. So, it's not a city project, it's a private project, but they're gonna get themselves set up so that they can have their water turned off now
And we chose that time, why?
Well, when we've done power shut-offs in the morning, people have complained, rightfully so, they couldn't get the kids ready to go to school, they couldn't go to work. You can't do it at lunchtime, because that's a lot of businesses' busy times. Afternoon, the school is almost out, the public school anyway. There's no good time to do it, and it's not something that can be done in the dark.
Steve, did you want to, come on, please.
Well, you kind of answered my question. if it can't be done in the dark, I'm an eco, by the way, I'm in here with Froggies. It's just that, yeah, I think it was just this winter, we had some issues with the same water line. And it shut us down all day. And I don't see why this should come out of our pocket. It's not our problem. The city informed me that they have no right to provide us water, so it's definitely not their problem.
I don't understand what you said, they have no right to provide.
Well, no, excuse me, no obligation to provide.
I think what the city code says that we're not a guaranteed provider, that way if there is a failure that we can't be held for, the city can be liable for
Right.
that. I get what you're saying, Joe.
Yeah, and that's what he said in a nutshell, is, you guys weren't liable for it. The hospital also evidently is not liable for our lost sales or our lost
That I
business.
don't know about, I mean, that's a private thing and.
That would be a civil issue.
But since this is a private thing, why does it have to affect us?
Well, because the water lines feed businesses in various directions, and there's a series of valves that get cranked down. Now, we can't have a valve in front of every house and every business, so they cover a large area, and you just have to, go in sections. Now, if these water projects are moving forward at some point, the valve thing will be redesigned by Mr. Foster and the commission or whoever, and it will be more, probably easier to handle.
I guess really what I was hoping for was it could be done during the night when nobody has to suffer.
Well, there'd be people complaining, I guarantee you, because people do laundry at night, and we've had people do perms, and they come call in and that sort of stuff, they don't have water. There's absolutely, and there's some of them better than other times, right? We just tried to pick what we thought would be, wouldn't destroy the school during the day, and I did think about you for breakfast and lunch, because, a lot of times, but I'm sorry, there's just no easy.
There's no easy
answer.
And there, I guess that's the answer, is there's no ideal time, and like we said, I think once we get these projects done, in the future, we might, it'll be a lot easier to avoid this kind of inconvenience.
Well, sounds good. Thanks for listening to me.
Thank you. Do you need items T and U, fire department? Do you need?
Francis didn't have that one, I do, the fire department.
Francis, did you have something on fire department building?
And I know we put Call Valley at the end, because we called them last, and we were using,
This is something I'll probably meet with the city manager and hopefully Dan next week and come back to the next city commission meeting with just an update.
Okay. And then Caw Valley Chamber of Commerce, armory usage July 11th.
for no charge, they just put that in
Yeah.
so there's a consensus,
Yeah.
like normal, same process.
Okay.
What's this for?
Go ahead, Maurice.
They
Go ahead. They use the armory
They
to
use
host
the
their
armory.
events.
for one of their events, I'm not sure what the specific event is. It's the 34th time.
And we've given it to them at no cost. Okay, and then, we have an item V, four-way stop. All right, here we go.
That's what I voted, Bill.
Oh, no.
No, I just wanna ask for more visibility on those signs. I was going eastbound up Mount Calvary, and I almost blew past the stop sign, I didn't even see it there, didn't realize that it had finally been installed. But what happened yesterday was I was going southbound on Second, I came to a full stop, and then there was someone heading westbound that almost T-boned me and then got mad at me for actually following the laws. I don't know if there's a way to like put red blinkers up on the stop signs. I was like, I didn't vote for this, so don't get mad at me.
So they don't have to stop, and you shouldn't get mad at them if they were people. No, I actually, I got a dirty look at somebody, and same thing, they kind of rolled and they saw me moving and they gave me a look like, what the heck was I doing, but,
I don't know if there's just a way to put flashing red light or something. Solar powered.
all right. Reports, Maurice?
A water tower up north on, Road is it's ongoing maintenance. So they're painting it, the city entered into an agreement, so you pay them each year a little bit, and this is the year it gets painted. It had to be drained in order to paint it on the outside, because of condensation and that sort of stuff. It really will take about 2 weeks, so.
And that water pressure is gonna be lower that whole time, so.
Well, it should be right now, they're using, Don said they're using what they call VFDs, or variable frequency drives, to somehow maintain that pressure.
I haven't seen it.
67 yeah, so they said it should be 67 pounds, so it wasn't the initial report of it being lower.
Yeah.
What could lower things would be the water turnoff on Wednesday. Even though it's only in that area of town, the last time this happened, we got calls from around the city about their water pressure being low. I'm just hoping it doesn't take 4 hours, it just takes 2 or 90 minutes. But that's one of the reports I had.
Okay. If nobody else has anything,
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to adjourn.